Index called? What was that index called? There's a lot of people in there should know. It's called chi-square statistic. Okay? So I'm taking it as a real example. I'm introducing probability and I'm teaching them something that's going to be useful later. I hadn't gotten into hypothesis testing and statistical inference yet. But they've already learned something about probability and how that translates into something that's real, that relates to something you're going to eventually learn later. And later they learn more about the chi-square statistic. Now, the second thing here on the screen is I'm only seeing one. There's another thing about to come up later. But the second thing I did was, again, trying to be innovative. Is what I said was, well, okay, I'm teaching this course. Can I, again, make it more interesting instead of having them read the book or having me come in and giving, doing that probability module was painful. It took a long time to make those slides, like 20 slides. And to have to do it right, I won't go into all that. But then I said, well, I'm teaching other things. I'm teaching about, distributions, the normal distribution, the binomial distribution. What are these things? Okay. Now I could just go into class and talk about it and show a picture of the bell-shaped curve and talk about that. But what I did was I came up with a bunch of ways of teaching about distributions and about what are called ways of doing statistical inference, like hypothesis testing and estimation and confidence intervals. And I did this using what are called slide tape presentations. The slide tape presentation basically was a bunch of slides, an audio tape that you would put into like you had to have some library situation where you put audio tape and have the slides there, and you play the slide tape presentation, and you'd be getting narrated on whatever the topic. This topic has to do with, what does it say? Distribution series part 4, and it has to do with computing percentiles of the normal distribution. And it was something that they wanted to learn about that. I mean, if somebody really knew about it and wouldn't have any problem dealing with it, they don't have to do it. But what I did is there were 7 slideshows, 7 different topics. And I made 10 copies of each of those slideshows. I also had what's called a viewing study guide that would go along with each slideshow. That would actually, what it would have would be summarize what's in the slideshow. It would have a practice example, and it would have a final sort of little test example at the end. So everybody that was doing that would I had 10 copies of this. And I put them in the health sciences library at the School of Public Health, and I basically said, okay, in the next 2 weeks I'm going to be talking about these topics. What I want you to do to actively learn about this material, I want you to go to the library, to the closed reserve, and I want you to, over the next 2 weeks, to pull, to ask the person, the librarian, for the copy of each of these things, one at a time, and go through all 7 of them to learn about them. So that's how I taught that. It was a different way of teaching it, and it was a way that the slower learner could really have a long time to learn the material. The faster learner might not even need to use it. So now, what I've now done with this, about 2 or 3 years ago, I've changed these slide tape presentations into PowerPoint, narrated PowerPoint presentations. I couldn't do it back then because there was no such thing as PowerPoint. It's the only way I could do this. Okay? But now they're available as PowerPoint, narrated PowerPoint presentations. And they're useful. It's about, now I never did a whole course. I only did it on several topics because I didn't have time to do a whole course. So anyhow, that's another little innovative thing I did. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Let me see, what am I doing here? I'm pressing. What's coming? What, press on that? Oh, okay. This is to show some pictures of what I look like over the years. Okay, right? This picture, now, you all know that I'm Jewish. But I look a little like Jesus Christ. I don't want to make that claim. But here I am playing the flute. Here I am, a picture of me who looks like Charles Manson. This is when I got my first teaching award. And I didn't know what I really looked like until I got this picture. Because you don't look at yourself, and when you have a beard, you don't really see yourself exactly the way it really, I don't know. I saw this picture, I said, yeah. And I shaved the next day. I didn't shave it all off, but this was too much. And then eventually I actually wound up with a mustache, which I used for a long time. So I changed my look, so that's no. Now here's, next thing I'm going to show you is a picture of this is Larry Cooper, my longtime colleague at Chapel Hill, longtime basketball enthusiastic friend. He and I went to all these Tar Heel games. And this is me, with a beard. So I had a beard, I shaved it off, had a mustache, I got the beard back, and all that. And this is the first of my textbooks called Applied Regression Analysis, which was published in 1978. And now it's in the 5th edition. And it's got 4 authors, and the last of the authors on this list is Eli Rosenberg. Where are you, Eli? There he is, right here. Eli took this on and really did a great job. So it's now in the 5th edition. So we've got the editions. So there you go. That's the first book. Now this is the picture that was taken of me when I got my first teaching award. I saw this picture and I sort of winced a little bit. It's shade, but this is what and this person who's giving me the award, this person is, anybody know who this is?
Bernie Greenberg.
Bernie Greenberg. Bernie Greenberg was the dean of the School of Public Health at the time I was getting this award. Well, Donna knows. And Bernie's son, Ray Greenberg, anybody know that name? Ray Greenberg was the first dean of this School of Public Health. And Ray Greenberg was actually, when he was a graduate student at UNC, he was a TA. He was one of my TAs in like 1980. So, well, one thing I guess I'm saying is I'm old. Anyhow, that's Bernie Greenberg. Okay. So, some pictures. Okay. Well, here's another one. The first band I was in, when I started playing music together in public, I was in a folk music band. And that band was called Silkworm. This was 1981. And we had 2 of the people in the band, two of the guitar players, the guy and the woman here, they both wrote original songs. And occasionally we sang other songs that people knew, and I sang on some of them, like the rock and roll songs. And they're rock and roll songs, I was there for comic relief, you might say. But we played in a lot of different places. We actually played in front of a big audience and 2,000 people in Memorial Hall on the UNC campus when there was the main speaker was a fellow by the name of Ram Dass. Anybody ever heard of him?
Mm.
What was his original name?
Albert.
Herb, what?
Albert.
Albert. Yeah, not Herb Albert, but yeah, right. But, so that was the biggest audience. But anyhow, that was my folk music band. But we had started this band after a lot of famous folk music bands already been around, like Kingston Trio or Peter, Paul, and Mary. So we never really made it big. Well, we were good, but we never really made it big. So, anyhow, that's another picture. Here's another one. What about this? What's this? Who's this? This is me again. This is 1982. And I was teaching a course in Milan, in Italy. And when I arrived in Milan, a couple of days early, I noticed that on the wall of the train station, I was on a sabbatical from Munich. When I was on arriving in Milan, there was a sign which said there's a half marathon going on the weekend, on Saturday or on Sunday. And I was a runner, but I wasn't a great runner. I wasn't a fast runner. And I thought I could do it, but I knew I wasn't going to win it. But I ran it. And that's me running this half marathon in Milan. Okay, so here's the second book that I wrote. Okay. The Epidemiology research book. Okay. That had Kleinbaum Cooper and Hal Morgenstern, who was a graduate student in epidemiology and a very bright I don't know what the right word is, pushy. But he went to a summer session in Minnesota, which was taught, the course was taught by Ken Rothman. And he came back from that summer session and said, you gotta write a book about what Ken Rothman was talking about, because that's really what's in epimethods. So he was a graduate student, but he was forceful on this. So I got Larry, Hal, and I eventually wrote this book. And it was the first, as I said, the first public textbook on what you might now call modern epidemiology. And there were other textbooks that came later. And the Rothman textbook that many of you heard about that actually has modern epidemiology in the title, that wasn't published until 1986. And the Mietnin textbook, now Mietnin was the original innovator of a lot of ideas about epimethods. But he wrote his textbook, a draft of his textbook, in something like, this is 1982, he wrote it in like in 1976, and he tried to get it published, and nobody wanted to publish it because nobody could understand it. You know. And he was brilliant, but nobody could understand it because he wasn't writing, he was Finnish originally, and so we used to say, he probably wrote it in Finnish and then had somebody translate it into English, and it was really, you know, but he's sort of the father of modern epidemiology, but he didn't, you know, and he's got a book, and he's actually, we're still in touch about writing another book. That's another story. Okay, so that's, okay, now, here's another picture. This is a completely different topic. Yes. Laughing yourself to health. Now, when I was at UNC, I was always interested in humor. I mean, I wanted to make my class relaxed and happy, and, you know, so make things funny or enjoyable in class. And I found out that there was a humor institute that was a national institute and was located in Saratoga Springs, New York, and they had an annual yearly meeting. Okay, and so I went to one of these meetings, and I saw people talking about how humor is very important and something that should be incorporated into whatever your work situation is. It's not simply telling jokes. It's like you want to make the people, whatever the situation, you want to have people relax and enjoy themselves. And so I came back from this, and I was very enthusiastic about trying to do something. And I met some other friends that I, you know, had gotten to know over the years, and we formed an organization called the Carolina Humor and Health Association, Carolina Ha Ha. And we went around the Durham, Chapel Hill area. We went to hospitals, we went to various classes, and we talked to them about humor is very important in everything you do in your life. And we went to hospitals to cancer patients, or people who were very sick, or people who were maybe even in the work environment that needed to enjoy what they're doing a little bit more. So we talked about Carolina Ha Ha. And it's no longer around, but you know, we started that. It was an attempt to do something. Okay. So I'm getting close to being done here, but this is another picture that was taken in Chapel Hill in the early 1980s, and there's Dr. K over here. There's an arrow pointing to Dr. K. You see this arrow? Who's that pointing to? Yeah. Dr. Tolbert. Look at Paige Tolbert. And whatever that was, 1981. What a beauty, right? Still a beauty, but there she is in 1981. And there's a bunch of other people who were graduate students. There's Larry Cooper. There's Harvey Checkaway, who is a well-known occupational epidemiologist. They were all in this picture, but that's just a picture that Edna found and wanted to put it. So, okay, next picture. And in 1994, because I had met somebody, I was asked to teach a course in Madrid, and the person who organized the course had a friend who happened to be the King of Spain's physician. And I was in Madrid, and I was having some problems with my back. And he had ways of treating back problems. So I called him up, and we got to know each other, and after the course was over, I went to Mallorca, and I met him, and he invited me to come to his office And eventually we got to know each other, and over the next few years, he arranged for me to be knighted in a castle in Majorca. So that's why I was actually, so a knight in Spain, you're a caballero. You're not a knight. I don't know, you're a caballero. And this is a picture of me being knighted. I didn't get a crown or anything, you know. And this is a picture of the ceremony, you know. So not everybody you know is a knight, and I don't know what I think about that now. But in any case, I think actually Bill Clinton was knighted in that castle too, a few years later. So then I moved to Emory. And that's my first year or two at Emory, 2001. I was there, actually started there in 2003, but it's a picture just about the time I got, this is RSPH, but this is just prior to my coming to Emory. And this is a picture of what the Active Epi CD-ROM looks like. It's this multimedia way of teaching epi methods that makes it interesting, because there are ways of doing presentations to teach epidemiology that have automated, narrated, animated ways of teaching it, and they're not. It's like not a long chapter. A chapter would have maybe 10 5-minute things in there. Wouldn't have one long chapter. So this is the first thing that I published, and I published it with the Springer Publishing Company, and this was in 2003. And there was also a companion text that came with that. Companion text, that was because if you were looking at a narrated, animated presentation and you wanted to be able to see what was being said, you wanted to have a copy of the text. So I had this companion text that went with it. So those are two things. And then the next thing I'm going to show you is just near the end here. Next thing is I got this teaching award. And this is this career teaching award. I was the inaugural recipient. I got this in 2005, the ASPH Pfizer Award. And since then, there have been, lots of others, but I was the first one to get that. This is just a picture of that. Okay. Beginning. There's my band that I formed in the late 1990s, the Moonlight Jazz Band. This is one version of the band. Of course, there's me with a different shirt on, and everybody had their own way of way of dressing. And the band over the years has changed. We've lost a drummer, we've lost a piano player, and we've replaced that. So it's that's the Moonlight Jazz Band. Now here's another couple of pictures here. This picture up here on the left that I think I'm pointing to. You see the shirt I'm wearing? Okay. Now you can't see it that well, but what this shirt is. This shirt has all the uniforms of the Major League Baseball teams on this shirt. I used to wear this shirt to the day that the season started, when the baseball season started, or the day that the World Series started, or something like that, to celebrate the fact that baseball is now in. So I would wear that shirt, and then I'd walk around the room and have people look and try to find their team and all that stuff. And then the second one is after doing a lot of short courses in different places for many years. And I did most of them with Larry Cooper. In recent years, I've done a lot with Mitch Klein. But we did so many of them that sometimes we sort of wanted to kid around a little bit to sort of make things more fun for us. So there was one class that we decided to come to as the Blues Brothers. So here we are, the Blues Brothers, teaching this class. And it went fine. I mean, we didn't get booed off the stage. And we were teaching. We just were dressed this way. So there you go on that. Okay, now, here's a picture of me getting the Emory Williams Award here at Emory in 2000, and I don't know when, actually, 2007 or something like that. So here's Dick Levinson up there. Now, the next picture here is this picture on the, well, there's two pictures up here. The first picture up here is me sleeping. Okay? Now, I've gotten really good at that since I retired. Because what's happened is, I sit down and, in one of our rooms, to read a book, and I start reading my book, and after 2 paragraphs, I'm